Okay, today we're going to be doing a review of one of my friend's computers. Of course, you all have probably seen my computer review where I pretty much use Intel and ATI. A lot of people out there prefer Nvidia graphics, where really there's a reason to prefer them due to driver support. So for those of you that are Nvidia fans, I think you're really going to like this review on this computer. It's about the best Nvidia build I've seen. So here we go.
Okay, so what I've done, I've started off with the Silverstone Raven RBO2 case. This is the second generation of the Raven case. You can see it's got a lot of similar features where the motherboard's actually turned 90 degrees. But if you'll notice, it's also left-handed. So the motherboard's actually on the left side of the computer. I've added a couple things. You know, you have the Intel sticker on the side. We'll get into all the internal components here in a little bit, but coming around the front, you can see, starting at the top, I've added in some switches for the lighting inside. I've got two cold cathode, 12-inch cold cathodes, and two 12-inch UV bulbs. So I'll have a daytime setup and a nighttime setup. The cold cathodes will basically flood the entire inside of the computer with blue light. If I turn on the UV, all the tubing inside glows very nicely. Moving down, I have a Lamptron fan controller, and what that does is it controls the fans for both of my Citron hard drive coolers, as well as the top-mounted 120 millimeter fan and the three bottom 180 millimeter fans, which we'll see once we get inside the case. In the middle here, we've got the front panel for my Creative Fatality Champion Series, and then down below the LG Blu-ray HD DVD drive, and then just a regular LG DVD burner. Then right next to it you can see, just like the other build you've seen on Truby's site, you've got the Koolance ERM-2K3U. You can see I'm using a blue coolant. All my builds I tend to use blue lighting and coolant. Right now we're idling at about 37°C, but that's we'll say it's because this room gets pretty darn hot with this computer. I've got another computer in here.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you the lighting now. We've started. I've got all of the internal lights turned off. You can see I have the two switches on the front panel, and when I have them off, you can see that they have a light on the front. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn on the cold cathodes, and that pretty well floods the inside of the computer case with blue light. I've got one set up, one cold cathode here and one across the top, so it really gives a good view of the inside. Now that doesn't necessarily show you the tubing very well, so I put in the UV tubes, and give it about a minute or two, and all of the tubing inside is going to be really glowing well. And that gives me the opportunity, if I'm playing at night and I only want to see the tubing, I can go ahead and turn off the cold cathode tubes, and really makes the tubing stand out. Okay. Unlike Truby's case, this one's a little bit more difficult to get into. I'm going to go ahead and turn off all the lighting. You've got to pop this top panel off. The nice thing about having everything located on top, you can really get to all of your cords and everything very easily. Go ahead. That gives you easy access. You don't have to be reaching behind the computer when you're trying to disconnect anything or switch components. On the top, you've got two side panel screws, and all I'm going to do is take this off and just flip it out of the way, and that gives you a view of how I have the lighting set up. Okay. All right. So inside, you can see I've got quite a lot going on. We'll start with the motherboard. It's the EVGA classified X58 3-way SLI, and I'm pretty much using all of the open slots that I have. The processor is the Intel Core i7-920. I've currently got it overclocked at 4 gigahertz. You can see that's water cooled. I've got the SwiftTech water block, the Apogee GT. I've also got the motherboard water cooled. So you can see water coming in, comes in down at the bottom, flows into the CPU water block, out of the CPU water block up here to the voltage regulator. Comes out and into the chipset water block, which actually covers and goes all the way down behind the 3 graphics cards. Comes out of that water block, the motherboard chipset water block, and comes into my first GTX295. Now this is the 295 co-op FTW. They both are. Comes in, goes into the bottom of the first card, comes out the top across this bridge, and all these fittings are bits power, except for this. This is a specific Koolance bridge right here. All 3 of these water blocks are all Koolance water blocks. Goes into my second 295, and I had to, since these 2 cards are obviously right next to each other, it's easy to line them up, but linking that into my third card, which I use just for physX, I had to build this crazy configuration here to get it to go into the third block. And I know you're probably going to laugh and say it's absolute overkill, which it is, but right now the third graphics card is a GTX285 2GB FTW. That's simply because all 3 of these cards are the fastest of their type, made by Nvidia right now. So coming out of this GTX285 water block, goes through this Koolance water temperature sensor, and that's the water temperature that you're seeing on the front panel of my Koolance ERM-2K3U. Makes the return trip back down through the bottom and goes back to the cooler. Now, I can also get air temperatures to display on the front of the water cooler. And what I've done is I have on the back side of the computer I have just a regular temperature sensor, and it senses the air temperature coming into the computer. And I also have one up here at this top fan reading the exit temperature. And they never vary by more than about a degree or 2. Powering the whole setup is a BFG 1200 watt PSU. It is a modular power supply, which made it a lot easier to run power cabling. As you can see, I've got a lot of power going to the graphics cards. I also have 2 8-pin CPU power going into the motherboard. Gives it very clean power for overclocking. Down at the bottom, you'll see these are the 3 180 millimeter fans. Really, the case is designed for maximum airflow, for air-cooled components, and you'll see that not very much inside the case is air-cooled, but it still keeps the internal temperature of the case very low. We talked about the hard drive coolers on the front here, but inside that I have 2 150 gigabyte Velociraptors in RAID 0. Gives it a good speed. We've done a benchmark on the performance of the hard drives, and they actually perform very well. I'm very pleased with that. And unfortunately, right now, those are all. I'm going to have to be upgrading here probably in the near future when I get SATA 3.0 out. I might have to upgrade and get a SSD like Truby has.